Hey everyone, this is Kit Cabello of Hard Lens Media, and we are returning back to a story that we've covered for quite some time, especially in the early days of Hard Lens Media when we were on radio and television, and we are going to be talking about the Matt Asphalt plant. Now, the Matt Asphalt plant was built in the 12th Ward in the city of Chicago without anyone, none of the residents were informed about its construction. No one in the state of Illinois, city of Chicago, Cook County informed the residents of its construction, and this has been an uphill battle because the residents of the 12th Ward don't want the Matt Asphalt plant in their community. McKinley Park is a 63-acre public green space. There are 2 schools, there's homes, apartments, condos, small businesses, and a lot of people are concerned about the environmental pollution that this asphalt plant is doing. Plus, add in the fact that there's a large amount of truck traffic going in and out of that facility. So, this protest took place on May 1st, 2020. Check it out. The people have had enough. And I am filming on location for a protest at the Matt Asphalt plant. And apparently this is a very big deal. I'll see how many people exactly turn out. But just a short summary, the Matt Asphalt plant was built near McKinley Park, which is a 63 green space area. It's one of the largest green space areas in the city of Chicago, save for other city landmarks. This is a 63-acre green space. One of the very few that are in the city of Chicago. Again, which is why it's pretty shocking that this asphalt plant was built. This is important for the people who live in this district, especially by McKinley Park, because this asphalt plant was built without no one in the state of Illinois, city of Chicago, Cook County, informing the people that this asphalt plant was going to be built in the first place. And since then, no one in the Illinois EPA or Chicago EPA or any other institution has been holding this asphalt plant accountable.
You've been texting with. Lauren.
All right, so do you mind if I ask you a question?
Hey everybody, Jerry Vasilatos here. Good evening, citizens of Chicago. That was a little bit of a prologue to bring us into the present regarding the Matt Asphalt factory in McKinley Park. That has been an important story regarding environmental racism here in Chicago that my colleague, the very venerable Kit Cabello, has been covering for some time now. So I wanted to at least give a little bit of backstory on what was happening last year before we bring us back into the present with something that Kit brought my attention to earlier this evening when I was co-hosting the Hard Lens Media National show. So good evening, Kit. Thanks for joining us tonight.
It's really good to be back on the show. It's been a while since I've been back on not Hard Lens Media, Chicago Corner. But, you know, this story that we're right now seeing about the Matt Asphalt plant, or at least that rewinding back the clocks, you know, I'm looking at this situation with Matt Asphalt plant. So let's look at what happened in 2018. And again, let's try and zoom in on the image because this was shared today at 5 a.m. Central Standard Time here in the city of Chicago. All right. So let's try and zoom in, or at least get that picture so everyone can understand what the people in this district of Chicago are dealing with. So let's go ahead and get that image all set up, and I'll go ahead and give everyone a quick history reminder about what happened with the Matt Asphalt plant. So
that's crazy. You know what, Kit? It kind of looks like the Great Chicago Fire. I don't know if you saw what I did with our show thumbnail tonight. Very, very interesting and ironic, bringing things kind of within, I don't know, like familiarity with each other. But yeah, that's insane.
Yes. So here's what happened to everyone that's watching this. In Hard Lens Media, and to anyone that's watching, if you want to see our video clips, we have a whole catalog of our coverage, both audio and video coverage and interviews with the activists, the heroic activists that have been fighting this 3-year-long fight against the Matt Asphalt plant. In 2018, the Matt Asphalt plant was built in near McKinley Park. Again, McKinley Park, it's a 63-acre green space. There's homes, houses, apartments, condos, small businesses, 2 schools, and a community center. It was an open public pool. And this asphalt, again, was built, and no one in the state of Illinois, city of Chicago, or Cook County informed the residents of its construction. This thing has been operating without a permit. There's been ongoing back and forth truck traffic. Again, a school that's nearby here deals with the majority of that truck traffic going in and out. Again, this asphalt plant has been operating without a permit. No one at the state level or at the federal level has been doing anything to address the fact that, again, this asphalt plant was built and no one in this community was known about it. Now, the alderman of this district, his name is Alderman Cardenas. He's of the 12th Ward. And so far, he's been utterly silent about this because, again, he has close ties with the owners, or is it at the son of was one of the owners of the Matt Asphalt plant. And again, he is also in charge of Lord Lightfoot's Chicago Environmental Protection Agency. This is a long-sad history of environmental racism on the south side of the city of Chicago. This is not only just here in this area of Chicago, but also on the west side of Chicago too. And it's predominantly impacting working-class communities, African-American communities, Latino communities. And again, these facilities are built next to residential areas. And in these residential areas, there are community centers and schools and people who use public green spaces. But yet these asphalt plants, these industrial facilities are built on the south side. I don't see anything like this being built on the north side because, again, Chicago being a hyper-segregated city that it is, if anything like this was built on the north side, people would be screaming from the rooftops. But this is happening on the south side of Chicago. And I want to inform our north side brothers and sisters that even though this is on the south side of Chicago, you're still breathing it in. The poison is still contaminating your air and your water and your soil. Now, take a good long look at this picture. And to our viewing audience watching this, how would you feel if this thing was built in your neighborhood? Now, there's been nothing but silence from Mayor Lori Lightfoot and her administration, as well as, again, look, Governor J.B. Pritzker. I got to bring him out here in this too, because it's something that's ironic that I find funny about this. When Governor J.B. Pritzker was running in 2018, and also when Mayor Lightfoot was running for her campaign in 2019, both of them were running on a strong environmental protection agency in the state of Illinois, Lightfoot respectively for the city of Chicago. And I want to point out to everyone as well that, again, there is a photo of Governor J.B. Pritzker next to the McKinley Park Community Garden before the Matt Asphalt plant was constructed. Where is the Environmental Protection Agency, the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency for the citizens of the 12th Ward? This asphalt plant, again, is running without a permit. Now, I'll be more than happy to share with anyone that's watching us right now all the video and audio coverage of Hard Lens Media's coverage of this horrifying story. There is a long, sad history of corruption and cover-up that's happening with what's going on with the Matt Asphalt plant. And this has been taking place right now. This picture, 5 a.m. in the morning. There are a lot of residents who live near McKinley Park, and this is the air that they're breathing. And to our north side brethren, you're breathing it in too. This has been a 3-year fight for the people, especially for those heroic activists, the Neighbors for Environmental Justice, who've been doing this ongoing fight against the Matt Asphalt plant. I also want everyone to know that, again, continue on with the Twitter thread that's in here. Let's keep this image up here because I want everyone to see what they're looking at. The Chicago Department of Public Health needs to use air monitoring data. It is unacceptable that you can call in a complaint at 5 a.m. in response to this, and maybe somebody shows up hours later when it's not happening and says, well, I didn't smell anything. And in this, and again, in this Twitter thread, and Jerry, we can show it up. Jerry,
okay,
we can.
Let me get the Twitter thread back up.
Yeah, we can actually. You'll have to scroll down, and you'll see this image. Let's click on that image right there.
This one, the graph.
Yeah, it's the graph right there.
Okay.
39. I want to make sure everyone's looking at the same thing too. I don't know if we could zoom in on it, but if we can't, I'll be more than happy to read it for our viewers. 39th and Damon. Again, this took place at 5 a.m. Central Daylight Time on Friday, October 8th, 2021. That is the amount of danger, the pollutants that are impacting the people in the 12th Ward right there. Continuing on with the Twitter thread, While they're the most frequent offenders, it's not just the Matt Asphalt plant. Recently, Griffiths Labs did some kind of late night maintenance that blanketed the neighborhood in a haze at 10:30 p.m. Again, people need to breathe outside business hours. And again, McKinley Park's air quality problems aren't just about Matt Asphalt plant, they're cumulative. Again, there's other industrial facilities here in this area and all across the south and west side areas of the city of Chicago. Where's Mayor Lori Lightfoot? Where is Governor J.B. Pritzker? Both of them ran their campaigns on having strong environmental protection agencies for the people that live in the state of Illinois, and of course, Mayor Lightfoot, respectively, for the city of Chicago. But again, there's utter silence, and I ask everyone to keep on sharing this story far and wide, exactly about the dangers of this asphalt plant and what it proposes, what threat it poses to the people living in this area. Jerry, I want to get your thoughts too.
Kit, what I don't understand is if anybody else did any kind of work and the city found out about it without a permit, we'd be in deep dog doo-doo, right? So my question is, and this is interesting too, because this reminds me of one of the first stories that we covered regarding a strike that had to do with General Iron, which was another environmental racism story with the General Iron factory that didn't have a permit. And protesters marched on Lori Lightfoot's neighborhood. And I believe that the permit was pulled. But even in that instance, as now, how the hell do these huge industrial companies, businesses, decide they can just set up shop, do what they want, not apply for the permits, not have the inspectors come out to figure out what the hell's going on before they begin work? And as a side note to that question, I don't know if you know the answer because I'm just thinking of it right now. Are there penalties for these businesses setting up shop without the permits while we're sitting here waiting for the mayor or other elected representatives to do their goddamn jobs?
Well, in theory, there are penalties, but because, again, the owners of the Matt Asphalt plant do know, again, a lot of key leaders in the city council, but there's also, again, the fact that Mayor Lightfoot's administration has been doing this back and forth fight with General Irons. Now, again, you know, it's surprising to know that Lightfoot caused that situation to get even worse when she proposed a move, or at least not even at the proposed move, but basically she's been sitting on her hands in regards to when General Irons was moved from the north side location to the south side of Chicago. Again, a lot of these industrial facilities, you know, are on the south side area of Chicago, west side areas of Chicago, and so far, again, 3 years still operating. No one's done anything. They haven't been shut down. No one said anything, not from the state of Illinois, not from the city of Chicago, not from Cook County. Now, we shared that tweet on the Heartlands Media Twitter account, but again, what's happening here, especially with this asphalt plant, you know, a lot of people don't want to live next to an industrial facility. And many of these industrial
Why
plants,
wouldn't they? Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, the air's got to be healthy. It's got to be like to listen to all the noise when you're trying to like sleep or wake up in the morning, and let alone raise your kids and make sure that the environment around you is safe there. I just don't understand why people would have a problem living around this shit.
Well, there is an insidious plan with the asphalt plant, and that is it's a two-pronged strategy for gentrification. Who wants to live next to an asphalt plant? So you move out the poor people, you move out the people you don't want, and you move in the correct people. Because you want to laugh at something that's completely ironic. They're building condos, really nice looking, expensive condos, gutting out old industrial buildings that were from the 1900s and turning them into fancy, expensive condos. I can't think of anyone that's going to make a decent salary that will want to live next to an asphalt plant. So what is this asphalt plant going to do? It's going to continue to keep on operating until all the wrong people are out, until the right people move in with the correct money, jack up housing prices and rent, and then kick out all of the people who've been living in this area, especially in the 12th Ward, for generations. It's another insidious way of gentrification. Pollute the area up, then kick all the poor people out, clean it up, make it nice and respectable for the correct kind of money to move in, and then problem solved. And then the industrial facilities are moved to another poor location to where the process happens all over again. And I want to remind everyone that's watching, this asphalt plant, it's releasing particulate matter. I've been seeing people talk about this in the live stream chat. It releases out particulate matter, and particulate matter impacts the heart, lungs, and brain. And senior citizens and young people are basically children, infants, are the ones that will be heavily impacted by this. And again, we're still dealing with the pandemic of COVID-19, and this asphalt plant releasing these dangerous pollutants only adds more fuel to the fire. So that's what's happening.
And our aldermen are complicit in all this happening. So
yes, Alderman Cardenas of the 12th Ward hasn't done anything about this. Where are our state representatives? Where are our state senators? Where are U.S. senators and House representatives? Marie Newman actually represents that area. Where is she?
And you've been very, very invested in covering this since it's obviously affecting
right
more people on the South side.
But I do want to get. But can I?
Sure.
I didn't mean to But I do want to give credit where credit's due, because the real heroes. Because we've been covering this story, and there's been a lot. Harlan's Media. We've been doing a lot, Jerry. I mean, you've been a big help with our move to the new studio. But the real heroes, the real people who are putting in the good fight, and everyone watching. I see we got 10 people watching us live. You 10, you got to share this. Shout out to the Neighbors for Environmental Justice. I'm going to say their name again. Neighbors for Environmental Justice. Jerry, if we could maybe pull up their Twitter page. This is the group that's been fighting this fight for 3 years. Let's pull up that Twitter link so that everyone sees who they are. So you 10 people watching, share it far and wide. These guys need help. These people.
Oh, okay. Here we go. My keyboard has got some issues here. So here we are on Twitter. Let me bring it back up here.
Yes. So again, Neighbors for Environmental Justice. I'm going to say it again. Neighbors for Environmental Justice. These are the people that have been fighting this 3-year-long fight, dedicated, holding protests, holding rallies, town halls, and meetings. And to everyone watching live, if you, especially those on Discord, I'm seeing Ayana in Discord as well. If you want, message me, and I will send you all the links of our coverage of this story. We have a lot of videos and audio coverage. Some of them go 2 hours long because we covered town halls and a few other events too, where again the people are yelling at the owners of the asphalt plant. How come you didn't tell us? No one reached out to the community, and now they're building expensive condos. I want to read out Golden Silence. Can we actually go back to Golden Silence's message right there, real quick? We can actually go up.
Back up here. Here we go.
The tactics is always the same, whether it's located on the south side of Chicago or in the heart of Silicon Valley, in Minneapolis, San Jose, California. Gentrification is always the same. And yes, just so that everyone sees everything, oh, by the way, Jean says, if I were there, I'd join them and block the trucks. Well, I can't say that out loud, but so there we go. But if all of you reading it, you see that. But hang on, let's peaceful protest, folks. But Jerry, I think before we continue on, let's actually get the image of the asphalt plant, because I know you want to ask a few more questions too.
Well, the other question I had is, given that we are small independent media on YouTube, and Hardlands Media has done an amazing job covering this over the past year. We've got our activist friends, Neighbors for Environmental Justice over on Twitter. Where's the mainstream media in Chicago been on this? Have mainstream like Chicago Tonight or any of the other stations been documenting what's been going on? Because as we're talking about, we need to spread this story around. Obviously, it hasn't been covered very well.
Credit where credit's due. Shout out to Chicago, Block Club Chicago. They've covered this story. Also, WTTW Chicago. I remember them doing one segment on this. Also, so did the Sun-Times and Chicago Tribune. I do hope this story gets further attention, though, because again, with the Matt Asphalt plant, it's kind of been forgotten. But again, the Neighbors for Environmental Justice have been doing this ongoing, continuous fight, and it's been 3 years. 3 years too long. Where's Mayor Lightfoot? Where is Governor J.B. Pritzker? Where is the Environmental Protection Agency? And look here, this might sound laughable, but where's Chicago Environmental Protection Agency that's run by Cardenas? Where are they all at? This asphalt plant is polluting people's homes.
Did you say asphalt plant or asshole plant? Oh, wait, maybe they're both the same.
It's probably both the same thing. So, again, to anyone watching, especially to our Chicago audience, when you do clip this, or when we do clip this segment, especially to our fellow Northsiders, look, we all live in the same city. And yes, we have our different sports teams and rivalries here and there, but that pollutant that's going in the air that looks like a volcano.
Yeah, it's crazy. Man.
You're breathing it in too.
It's poisoning everybody. It does look like a volcano.
And it's coming to your neighborhood too. Just because you're on the north side, you ain't safe.
It's going to drift. It's pouring over that neighborhood, and then it comes northward. Unbelievable.
And the thing is, hold on, dude, where's my car says, man, our governor is eating a nice fat ass lobster. There we go. So look, everyone watching this is something that needs to be shut down 3 years ago.
Yeah.
We talked about this when we were on radio. We talked about this when we were on television. We talked about this when we started really getting onto YouTube. And we're going to keep on talking about this, even on this channel too. Look, this is an ongoing fight, and Neighbors for Environmental Justice need all the help. Imagine if that was your backyard. This is a fight that all Chicagoans can rally around. The matte asphalt plant needs to go. McKinley Park is a historic green space. Are we really going to ruin Chicago's legacy, its history, by having an asphalt plant there? Are we really going to pollute one of the few large green spaces on the south side of Chicago? Mayor Lightfoot, is this your legacy? Governor J.B. Pritzker, you did a photo op next to the McKinley Park Community Garden before the asphalt plant was built. Is that your legacy too? Are you turning your backs on the people? That asphalt plant doesn't need to be there at all. It needs to be moved. And the people of the 12th Ward need justice. And so I'm asking for help. The Neighbors for Environmental Justice need help. That Twitter page that I shared with all of you, please help them out, spread the word. All of you are needed in this fight.
And I'm going to ask everybody in the live chat, keep an eye on the channel next week when I subclip this, probably on Monday. Share it on your social media, share it far, share it wide. Ask your friends to share the story so we can get this. We need to trend this story so more people are aware of it, is ultimately what it comes down to.
Yeah. Stop it.
Thank you. And Kit, thank you for that incredible recap of what's going on and what's continuing to go on and what we can do, try to get our elected officials to get off their fucking asses and protect the people in McKinley Park as well as the rest of the city, as this garbage is just polluting the air and poisoning people.
The heroes are Neighbors for Environmental Justice. Those are the real heroes. And so they're the ones doing a lot of the work. I'm proud that at least that we've covered this story, but they're doing much more work, and they need all the help they can get. So please, everyone, please help. That's all I can add to the story. That's it.
Speaking of disasters and how timely that this story with those images came to us tonight, we are looking at the 150th. Now, this article says 100 years, but this is actually the 150th anniversary of the Great Chicago Fire. And I thought it would be interesting tonight, as we're talking about environmental calamities, to reflect back on the Great Chicago Fire. And also, not to make light of it, but explore. I'm a big fan of on Disney Plus of Marvel's What If. Did you know that there are some what if theories regarding the Great Chicago that investigate other alternative possibilities to what started the fire, other than Mrs. O'Leary's cow? We're going to go into.
The cow didn't do anything wrong. Mrs. O'Leary was a scapegoat.
The cow was framed. So
the cow and Miss O'Leary were framed. It wasn't them.
We're going back in our DeLorean, Marty. Back to 1871. I do a good Doc Brown impression. Lasting from Sunday, October 8th to the morning of Tuesday, October 10th, 1871, the Great Chicago Fire killed an estimated 200 to 300 people while destroying more than 3 square miles of the city, including 73 miles of roads, 120 miles of sidewalks, and 17,500 buildings, and left 100,000 people, a third of the city's population, homeless. The great calamity of the age. Hundreds of millions of dollars worth of property destroyed the south, the north, and a portion of the west division of the city. All hotels, banks, public buildings, newspaper offices, and great business blocks were swept away. That is the article that was shared back in 1871. I'm trying to bring this other picture up. I don't know if there it is. Just, it's interesting too, as I look at the way the city is laid out now, in comparison to New York. One of the good things that came out of the Great Chicago Fire, if we can even say that, was the grid system that we now live in the city with alleys. Because for anybody who's been to New York, Garbage is piled up in front because the city grid was developed back in the 1800s when they didn't accommodate alleys. Thankfully, we have alleys.
Yeah,
We're going to be doing
we have alleys.
in a little while about the garbage use in our alleys. But yeah, I just found what an interesting parallel to what we were talking about with the environmental calamities that are created by matte asphalt and the Great Chicago Fire, which a lot of people believe began obviously because of the dry weather back then. Let me read another one of the updates from 1871. Chicago is burning. Up to this hour of writing, 1:00 p.m., the best part of the city is already in ashes. An area of between 6 and 7 miles in length and nearly a mile in width, embracing the great business part of the city, has been burned over and now lies in a mass of smoldering ruins. All the principal hotels, all the public buildings, all the banks, all the newspaper offices, all the places of amusement, nearly all the great business edifices, nearly all the railroad depots, the waterworks, the gasworks, several churches, and 1,000 of private residents and stores have been consumed. The proud, noble, magnificent Chicago of yesterday is today a mere shadow of what it was, and helpless before the still sweeping flames. The fear is that the entire city will be consumed before we shall see the end. We rose up like a phoenix from the ashes to become one of the greatest cities in the country, despite all the corruption that we deal with, that we're constantly reporting on here, holding our elected officials and older people accountable. We have rebounded as a great city on the surface, but there's still so much work to do beneath the surface with living up to our legacy of being the city of big shoulders. Let me go into and anyway, let me stop for a moment. Kit, have you comment before we go into some of these alternative theories that I thought were very, very interesting regarding what may have sparked the Great Chicago Fire, because that poor cow is constantly getting such a bad rap.
And so is Miss O'Leary too. So,
Yes.
both of them are innocent. In my opinion, they got set up. All right, they were an easy scapegoat, or to quote Ayanna, scape cow. Right? So, but looking at the Chicago Fire, it is a major, tragic, but major event in the history of the city of Chicago. In fact, if you look at the city of Chicago's flag, we have 4 stars. There's Fort Dearborn, or I believe the setting of, or at least the massacre at Fort Dearborn. There is the Century of Progress, the World's Fair, and the other star is the Chicago Fire. So, and I didn't do them in proper order. I left the Chicago Fire for last, but nonetheless, the Chicago Fire is what shaped the city into what it is. Yeah. And the thing is, like any kind of good mystery, there's probably more to it, because there's a lot of interest that did rise up in the aftermath of this horrifying disaster that impacted a lot of people's lives who lived here. And this was 150 years ago. It still resonates to this day. In fact, Chicago would not be Chicago were it not for this major fire. And I think we really now looking back at it, we just can't go to the child nursery rhyme of how Miss O'Leary and her cow are responsible for this fire. There might be much more to this story, and it requires a much more deeper look into what happened, what was Chicago before the fire, who were the key players when the fire happened, and then who properly investigated into it, and then who really rose into power after this devastation took place. Look, we're both from the city, Jerry, and we've earned our livelihoods here. The city has made us who we are. But Chicago Fire, the Great Chicago Fire, it's that moment in history where if it didn't happen, who knows what we would look like. And it's hard to really imagine, because I want to add in my own personal 2 cents in this. I went to New York a long time ago as a kid, and since I'm from Chicago, I'm used to alleys. I kind of was, as a little kid, I didn't know any better. I was like, why are you people throwing your garbage outside? Put it in the alley. Right. Trying to live in society here,
Yeah, when I was the first time I went to New York, I was shocked by all the garbage on the streets. I didn't understand, and then I charted it all back to the Great Chicago Fire is what gives us alleys here in Chicago. Some of my personal reflections on the Great Chicago Fire, just hearing the stories about it when I was a kid scared the hell out of me. The idea of, and I used to go to the Chicago Historical Society, and they had, I don't know if they still have it there, but they had this huge diorama behind glass of the city, and you'd push the button and the back wall would light up orange with the flames, and there would be an audio recording of people screaming and all the chaos. And I'm looking at this diorama through this glass and thinking, this is something that actually happened. This is not entertainment. This is not some fantasy. Although I have been surprised throughout the years that there hasn't really been some kind of a big budget historical drama capturing or presenting the history of the Great Chicago Fire, like a Titanic or something. I mean, there were so many stories happening in the city. I think back in the 1940s, there may have been a movie that was made, but not with the spectacle that we would expect that a filmmaker could put together today and depicting what that horrible disaster was like. Although I also remember there was a TV show when I was a kid, I think it was called Time Travelers. It was a pilot where the time travelers had to go back to the Great Chicago Fire to get some scientific thing that was helping with a virus in the present. And I think that was my first exposure to the Great Chicago Fire as a kid. I saw that TV movie and started reading about it and discovering more about the rich history of our city that evolved since that horrible tragedy. And you do wonder, what would Chicago be like had the fire not happened? Would we just be like a little stop on the lake? Like, some of the towns farther south along the spur of Indiana? It's really fascinating to consider how so much good in the city growing and evolving came out of such an incredible tragedy.
I don't know what our city would look like without the fire. It's one of those point. I don't want to quote something from Doctor Who, but this
is a more fun segment where we can.
Yeah. Well, when you can't change anything, it's like it's a solid point in time. I can't change it. Like this has to happen. This disaster has to happen. It's odd to think what our city would be like if we didn't have that fire. When everything was destroyed, and it was an absolute disaster that it happened at all. A lot of good people lost their lives to this fire, but in the aftermath rose a city that went on to basically become a major metropolis in the Midwest. Yeah. We were no longer a little stop on the map. We became a metropolis. We became a super city in many ways. And it became another characteristic of our history. And if it didn't happen, maybe we'd be a minor city, something that would be a spot, a little stop to be over, a flyover city. But Chicago wouldn't be Chicago without the fire, because like the Phoenix, we rose from the ashes stronger and renewed.
Did you follow that event? I want to say it was 5 or 6 years ago, where they were commemorating the history of Chicago fire, and they thought the way to do this would be to create artificial 1800 faux homes and put them on rafts in the Chicago River and light them on fire. And there were crowds that were there to watch this. Yeah, you can look this up. I forgot what, it was a theater company that did this. Millions of dollars were invested in this, and maybe someone in the live chat will remember this, but everybody went down to Chicago River to watch this. I want to say, again, it was about 5 years ago. And I think it had rained and they couldn't set the effigies of the house on fire. And I thought, first of all, the whole idea of commemorating this event that took hundreds of lives and destroyed the city by deciding let's light effigies and recreate it on the riverfront was the most ill-advised and stupid idea I'd ever heard. It's like, why don't you put pictures up of the victims down on the city walk, right? Do something a little bit more respectful, not this event where you're going to set things on fire to draw a crowd down to the Chicago River. It was like this, I think, I want to say Martin Sheen, or there was some celebrity there. Anyway, I just remember that event, and I was laughing when it failed so miserably because it was so wrongly conceived to begin with, given the loss of life and everything else that happened. Anyway, that was just something that I was reminded of that. And I went down there to watch it along with a lot of other people, and everybody was down there for the spectacle, and nothing caught.
You couldn't get the fire happen. It was like Chicago was like, right. You know what it was? You know what Chicago was thinking? No. I've been through this once before. You ain't doing none of that. Rain's coming on. Show's canceled, folks. We're not having any of
We're
this.
respecting the victims. And Andrew Golick, yeah, this is exactly, you pretty much made a simpler statement on what I thought. That event was in incredibly poor taste. Actually, that's an understatement. So, well, let me take us to some of these alternate theories. Okay, this is what I found fascinating when we were talking about the history of the Great Chicago Fire today. And I found this article, and I had actually read about this theory and gone into research so I could share the details with everybody here. And I'll read from the article. The Great Chicago Fire of 1871, alternate origin stories. What if? The Great Chicago Fire was a conflagration that burned from Sunday, October 8th through early Tuesday, October 10th, 1871. The fire killed hundreds and destroyed about 3.3 square miles in Chicago, Illinois. Catherine O'Leary, an Irish Catholic immigrant, seemed the perfect scapegoat. Recent Irish immigrants, interesting here, Kit, how we're scapegoating immigrants. Recent Irish immigrants were somewhat unpopular because of their growing numbers in the city. This story blaming Irish residents was circulating in Chicago even before the flames were extinguished. This version of the fire's origin was noted in the Chicago Tribune's first issue, published after the fire. Now, this was denied by the O'Leary household, stating that they were already in bed before the fire started, but stories of the cow began to spread across the city. In 1893, over 20 years after the fire, Michael Ahern retracted the whole cow and lantern story, admitting he and two other reporters made it all up. That's the first time I'm hearing of this, that these reporters made it up, because the story of the cow and the O'Learys has proliferated to this day. The amateur historian Richard Bales has suggested that the fire started when Daniel Pegleg Sullivan, who first reported the fire, ignited hay in the barn while trying to steal milk. Anthony DiBertolo.
I knew it. Can you say his name one more time?
Daniel Pegleg Sullivan. In this case, we have the one-legged man. We have the one-legged man. We don't have the one-armed man from The Fugitive. We have the one-legged man.
One-legged man.
And I can relate. Anthony DiBartolo in the Chicago Tribune suggested that Lewis M. Cohen may have started the fire during a craps game. Neither Bale nor DiBartolo's account has consensus. Now, here's the interesting alternative theory. First suggested in 1882 by Ignatius L. Donnelly in Ragnarok, the age of fire and gravel that is the Great Chicago Fire, was caused by a meteor shower. At a 2004 conference, engineer and physicist Robert Woods, let me bring this graphic up if we can see it here. Robert Woods suggested that the fire began when Biela's comet broke up over the Midwest. He said that 4 large fires starting in the same general area on the same day, all on the shores of Lake Michigan, suggest a common root cause. Eyewitnesses reported sighting spontaneous ignitions, lack of smoke, balls of fire falling from the sky. Now, this would make a great movie to show the Great Chicago Fire if they were able to confirm this phenomenon may have been the cause of it. Great balls of fire falling from the sky and blue flames. According to Wood, these accounts suggest that the fires were caused by the methane that is commonly found in comets. Because meteorites are not generally known to start or spread fires and are cool to the touch after reaching the ground, this theory has not found favor in the scientific community. A simple answer to the mystery of these fires in the northern Midwest can be found in the fact that the entire area had suffered through an extremely dry summer. Add to this steady winds from a weather system that moved into the area on the evening of Sunday, October 8th. The combination is sufficient to explain rapidly expanding fires that consumed so many of the mostly wooden structures in the region. Now, as we talk about the extremely dry summer and the steady winds from the weather, California has not completely burned to the ground yet, but this is a very similar phenomena that we see with climate change and the fires that are caused because of climate change and the extremely dry weather periods that we're having. So all of it kind of ties together. The past is prologue to the future. On the anniversary of the fire, I thought it was worth re-examining the story and just remembering the history of what came before and what has followed now.
You know, when we look at how it happened, I mean, now we're looking at different alternatives. You know, I think a lot of us, especially growing up as a kid, we heard, and again, Gene, right there, anti-Irish, anti-immigrant, fake
Nothing's
news.
changed. Nothing's changed. Let's scapegoat the immigrants.
Yeah, scapegoating the immigrants, and Miss O'Leary was wrongly, accused for this, and I just find it so odd and how childish it sounds. Like what Miss O'Leary and her cow is what's caused the Great Chicago Fire. I think what a lot of people need to realize that even the city at the time, it was a kindling disaster. I mean, it was a powder keg ready to blow up anyways, because again, the buildings were never up to proper code. The city wasn't up to code. And this was an environment. This was a recipe for disaster. And I want to I'm glad you quoted that right there. Maybe we need to look at the real culprit, the jag-off dude known as Pegleg. Pegleg! I'll curse that name till the day I die. I think it was Pegleg. That bastard. You know what? I'm seeing what we got like what 10 people in the live stream chat right now.
No, we have 18. We got 18 on
we have 18. We have 18 people watching us right now. Okay, 18. Listen up.
Cheers.
This is on the internet right now. I am calling for a total world search for Pegleg. I want to find out where he's at. I'm putting 1,000 point, not $1,000, 1,000 point bounty on him. And let's guess, I want him alive, brought before me. There we go.
And isn't it interesting? Andrew Golick remarks, the alternative history that we learned. Prospect High School conveniently omitted the part about anti-Irish sentiment in its humanity class. That's not surprising. As we see current politicians that want to eliminate critical race theory, because that's not a thing. It's totally a thing. And anyway, all right, let's move on to our next story.
Wait, one last thing though. But for a final note for this story,
sure.
I really want to see more articles in regards towards this possible theory of a meteor shower or potential, meteorite, hitting at, again, I can't even think about the number, like the mathematical probability of an object from space coming down to the city of Chicago at this point in time, at that time of year, or at the time of the planet's history, then right there happening. I mean, it would be an incredible discovery if this was truly something from another world that changed the history of Chicago, something universal.
Well, and it's not too crazy to consider when you think about how many comets have actually hit the Earth and wiped out regions. I mean, it's really not outside the realm of possibility. It's not science fiction. The idea of comets destroying other regions, and I mean, these just stoking flames in what was a very, very dry summer is completely possible. So I just found that theory to be very, very fascinating, although it has been dismissed by some scientists. I don't know. I think there might be something there to dive into deeper, and I am going to do that. And I'm sure that many of our other our viewers will do so too. So Gene says, Jerry and Kit, this is interesting and fun. I'm pleased that I found Chicago Corner. Gene, we're pleased you found us too. And I'd be curious to know how you found us. If you were from Hardlands Media, a viewer that heard about us on the show tonight and came over to visit the Chicago Corner backyard, we're really happy as we find our new viewers to join us. Normally, we're here bitching about the news. Tonight, we kind of had something to bitch about with the Mad Asphalt story, but given that we had the anniversary of the Chicago Fire, and I sometimes get tired about bitching about news stories, I thought we would do something, I don't want to say a little bit more fun, but a little bit less serious to chat about. That's interesting. Conversation like around drinks, like when you're out with your friends and just talking about this kind of shit. Mm-hmm. Bringing us back, though, to reality and shifting seasons, we have this reported to us today from Block Club Chicago. This comes to us via Kelly Bauer. More COVID-19 vaccinations needed to prevent winter surges, officials are reporting. More people need to get vaccinated against COVID-19 to prevent further surges this winter, officials are saying. The cold weather is expected to push people indoors where transmission is more likely, especially for people who aren't fully vaccinated. Many parts of the United States were hit hard by the virus during the winter last year. Dr. Yvonne Maldonado, an infectious disease epidemiologist at Stanford, told the New York Times the next few months will be critical. But people getting their shots could prevent more coronavirus waves as people head indoors. Most of us don't think we're going to see the terrible surge we saw last winter, she said. That was horrific. I hope we never have to live through something like that again. My side note, I'm very fearful we are. Because too many people are still not vaccinated. Too many people are still saying vaccinations don't work when they don't understand the vaccinations are to protect you from the virus, and also from other. If you don't have the vaccination, and someone who is vaccinated who's not affected by the virus still carries the virus, that you can get infected. This is science. This is not politics. And yeah, you know what, everybody? I am fucking sick and tired of wearing a mask. I wish I could go out without a mask. It's aggravating. It's irritating. I'm vaccinated, though. My sister, who was also vaccinated, caught Delta. And if it wasn't for the fact she was vaccinated, she would have had a much harder time surviving Delta, as a lot of people are now getting hit by Delta who weren't vaccinated. And all this bullshit about, well, obviously if people are catching Delta, the vaccination doesn't work. You don't understand science. And I know it's a personal choice. But Kit, something that I notice, and I don't want to broad stroke here, but the politicization, if that's a word, of vaccinations does seem to become a left and right issue. And I'm no fan of the shit libs on the left, and I'm no fan of the extreme crazy conservatives on the right. But I do find, at least it's been my experience, that conservatives, right-wingers, tend to be a little bit more selfish in their worldviews. They don't want to have a public safety net for people. They're against programs that help people. They're all about them, me, my rights. I don't want this. It's my rights. And on the flip side, on the left, you have those that are more embracing of social programs, that are thinking more about general welfare. And again, I don't mean to broad stroke, but I just see this politically as a divide between a party and a mindset that's a little bit more selfish, that it speaks to, I don't want to get the vaccination because of personal reasons, doesn't affect me, blah, 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 and those that are more embracing about the public goodwill. Look, this is a public safety crisis. And, even if the vaccination is not going to completely protect you from giving it to somebody else, you're protected. And if everybody's protected, that's how we get this thing down, let me just add in my thoughts to the whole thing with the vaccine. You know who just joined us? Oh my God, it's the dreaded Peg Leg.
Oh, he did. My goodness. All right, so
go ahead, Kit. Go ahead.
I did it. I blamed it on Mrs. O'Leary, and I'm not sorry about it.
We're doing a serious story about the pandemic, and Pegleg has to break in here. Pegleg, I want to give you time, but I do not want to take away from, I think, a very, very serious point that Kit was going to make here. So, Kit,
it will hold.
So there we go. All right, so let's talk about the vaccine and what happened. What's going on with it? Why there's some hesitation towards people using the vaccine. I understand that, again, we talked about this on the show. There's been a lack of trust from our politicians, from our media. The whole system has failed us. The system has lied to us. Now, I myself got vaccinated. I did so because it was my choice to do so. And I personally believe that the vaccine, especially with warp speed, look, a proper vaccine takes about 10 years of research and development to be made properly. I think the United States did a lot of cutting of the corners, and our corporate media failed in its job to really respond to the people, as did corporate media, failed to inform the people, as did our political government fail to take care of the people. The people have been lied to and burdened with so much BS for so long that it's hard for the average citizen in this country to really trust anything. It's not just a left-right issue. It's more of a trust issue. And there are people who are right-wing who've taken or probably more conservative voting than me, who've taken the vaccine. And there are other people who are also like more liberal or more left-leaning than me who've also taken the vaccine. And then there's people vice versa in that whole group that have not. It's just not a broad stroke. It's varying points of view. Now, again, I'm not going to say on the show, get the vaccine. I think at this point, it's up to right now the individuals to do so. I personally think
talking with your doctors.
Wait, but the thing is, look, COVID-19 is a dangerous threat. It's a virus that we haven't seen in some time that has basically shaken our entire system, our economic system, our political system, and has shown how absolutely fragile and how ill-prepared the United States in particular is to dealing with a disaster. I also want to point out, too, that, again, you know, when it comes down to choosing to take the vaccine, it's right now everyone's choice to do so. But this virus isn't going away, and it's mutating into dangerous variants, and it's going to be up to, again, our scientists to keep in track with this virus and also come up with various forms of the vaccine so to combat the mutations of COVID-19. We're not out of the woods yet. And I think right now everyone's going to have to make that choice on how they view this threat. But in regards for me sitting on a platform saying you should do this or you should do that, the people in the higher positions of power have basically failed the people, especially at the get-go of the lockdowns with COVID-19. And so there is a vast amount of distrust towards anyone with authority telling people what they can and cannot do. And I think it's something that neither you or I can fix. We can give our opinions. We can say, hey, look, we got like the entire team at our studio. We were vaccinated. And when we have our open house, everyone that's going to be inside, you got to wear a mask. That's how we're going to do so. That's our policy, what we're doing. But in regards towards nationwide policy, the government and the media failed because they've been lying to people for years. And so now we're in this very dangerous situation where this virus is going to become part of our livelihoods. The masks, unfortunately, aren't going to go away. So what I'm going to say to anyone that's either vaccinated or not vaccinated, whether you like wearing the mask or not, please be safe out there. That's all I can ask, because we're not going to get out of this threat until we work together. And until there's eventually a point where we can actually create something that's going to help the people and inform the people, everyone's kind of on their own at this point. And it's something that you and I are not responsible for. It's what the media and the establishment have already done. And now everyone has their different points of view and perspectives. And it's just yelling into a screaming chamber to where all I can say to people is just be safe. Whatever you're going to do, be safe and keep others in mind.
I would add to that. I agree with you that a lot of the problem is the public's mistrust of our government and our media. That said, getting to what has become the politicization of this public health crisis, don't listen to the news. Don't listen to your government officials. Go listen to the person that you see when you get sick. Listen to your doctor, your personal doctor. If you trust your personal doctor with all other matters of your health, everybody out there, I would say just that's probably the best thing you can do is take the advice of what your doctor tells you. Because as Kit said, this is not going away anytime soon because our government has so completely failed us with providing the relief to keep people home last year, to provide relief to businesses that had to shut down so that they could reopen. Of course, you know, the money went to all the big corporations, not the small businesses. The best thing the government could have done in asking everybody to stay home that had to give up their jobs is pay people to stay home, pay businesses so that they could reopen with a much longer recovery time than this rush to open that we saw earlier this year. That's why we're back to reflecting what happened during the 1917 and 1918 pandemic. You're literally like seeing the same chart spiking because they reopened too fast back then. Also, it's not the same virus. The other thing that really freaks me out is these boosters that they're advocating for, Kit. They're not boosters that'll protect people against Delta or any of these other mutations. As you said, these vaccinations do take years to develop. So they're not even caught up with being able to deal with the mutations that are coming out. But bottom line, as I said, it's not going to protect you from the mutations. But from what I've read, and I'm not a health professional, but from what I've read, and as I saw with my own sister who was vaccinated, it did provide some extra immunity to combating the mutation that she got hit with later. And Oreo seems to want to, do you want to say something? But getting back to this article before we move on to our last story, local officials have expressed similar concerns. Dr. Alison Arwady, head of the Chicago Department of Public Health, has previously said she's concerned less vaccinated parts of Chicago could see surges in the fall or winter. And you know another reason I discovered people are not getting vaccinated? They don't have doctors because they can't afford health care. That's the
Medicare for all. That's controversial statement, huh?
In the middle of a fucking pandemic Jimmy Dore said this the other day. In the middle of a pandemic, what's going to get everybody healthy? Giving people free. If you're not going to realize during the middle of a pandemic how important it is for everyone to have Medicare for all, as we're discovering, people don't have doctors to go to get the shots because they can't afford health care. And that also, I think, feeds into the mistrust. When they can't afford insurance or a regular doctor to begin with, who do they believe? Who do they believe during this time of politicization? A new variant that is resistant to the vaccines or people not getting their flu and COVID-19 shots, leading to a double epidemic, could cause significant trouble in Chicago, are what he said. Only 58.3% of all Chicagoans are fully vaccinated among residents 12 and older, all of whom are eligible to get vaccinated. That rises to 67.7% being fully vaccinated. Anyway, this is the data that's coming from our health officials here in Illinois. There's so many stats on this Block Club Chicago article I don't need to read. I think we kind of made our point regarding the fact that buckle up, because as much as we want to go into the holidays and enjoy a time with our families and celebrating, the cold weather is not a good environment for this virus, as we had a little bit of relief with the warm weather this summer. And I'm seeing a lot of stuff going on in the live chat. This is obviously a very hot topic with everybody, and I was trying to keep up with sharing what our viewers are typing there, because I like our viewers to be part of the discourse here in the show. So before I go to our last story, which I think would definitely benefit from old Pegleg joining the conversation. There's Pegleg.
Pegleg.
You there,
Pegleg?
Are you out from drinking?
Wait, how do I get in? Am I on?
You're
yes,
on.
Pegleg, you are here. Hey, Pegleg.
Oh, good. Yeah,
Listen,
you know, it's been what, 150 years. I think I really got to come out and say what happened.
Well, this is an exclusive on Chicago Corner. We're very, very glad to have you here, Pegleg. And as an amputee,
hold on, wait.
But as an amputee, I don't want you to broad stroke and have everybody think that those with one leg have nefarious motives, as you did, to blame the O'Leary cow.
No.
All right, well, Pegleg, listen, I called out for a bounty for you, buddy.
The number of legs that I have has absolutely zero bearing on why I did what I did 150 years ago.
You went to steal milk, but guess what, buddy? I'm calling for a whole bounty for you. All right.
Nobody calls Pegleg a thief. I was not a thief. I was an arsonist. There is a huge difference.
I'm imagining the Donald Sutherland character from Backdraft, the insane arsonist, as being what Pegleg might kind of look like in real life.
So here's what happened. Actually, me and Mrs. O'Leary started out as really, really good friends. We had a disagreement.
And you went to steal the milk.
No, I said she should get some chocolate cows so that they can sell chocolate milk. And she said, there's no such thing as a chocolate cow. I was flabbergasted. Flabbergasted, I tell you. There's no way that you can get chocolate milk without a chocolate cow. And, the argument got a little heated.
No pun intended.
She stormed out of the barn before I even had a chance to say goodbye. And as I was continuing to argue with the loudest volume possible, I believe that I scared the living heck out of the cows that were in the barn.
Oh, so you scared the cows. So cruelty to animals.
Now, I was not intending on scaring the cows. But the cows, having been scared, mooed so loudly that it shocked me. And I accidentally, and that's my story, accidentally knocked over a kerosene lamp.
You know, buddy, that sounds very suspicious.
I think Chicago Corner has found its Mike McRae.
I think so. I think we have too. Let me just say this, Pegleg. The bounty's still on. And once the hunt is on, you're gonna finally be brought back to Chicago to stand for trial for framing Mrs. O'Leary and those poor cows by scaring them. Because from what we've heard in our reporting, in our dedicated real news story, apparently you were trying to steal some milk, buddy. Were you trying to steal a cow and feed them chocolate? Were you trying to do that?
No, that's not what happened.
I don't
It's
believe.
not.
I don't believe you at all. You, sir, are a liar.
I
liar
stole
and a
nothing.
fraud.
I think we need to swear him in under oath.
I may have walked out with one of the cows, but I stole nothing.
I want to say, E. Heller, you're a man of many talents that we keep discovering. Every week we do our shows, and I want to thank you. What a way to wrap up the Great Chicago Fire story with a visit from Pegleg through
Peg leg.
being
Peg
channeled,
leg.
the spirit being channeled through the vessel of E. Heller.
Peg leg.
Hashtag chocolate cows exist.
You know something, Peg leg? I think there's a reason why Miss O'Leary had to storm out. You're just causing way too much of a headache, buddy. Chocolate cows do not exist, okay? Even with science in this day and age. I'm not going to tolerate fake news on this show, okay, buddy? Not from fake reporting. You're a liar, sir. You're a lying liar.
Pegleg, do you want to stay with us for the do you want to stay with us for the last story?
I might want to stay with you for the last story, but I don't know. That Cabello guy, he seems kind of weird.
Well, that's a given.
And he's a chocolate cow denialist. I don't know how to feel about that.
Not a denier, a denialist.
Denialist. Well, you know what? Until someone can show me that there's a, you know what? That's Jerry. Why don't you go and pull up the next story? I'm going to see if actually science has actually made a actual real chocolate
All right.
cow.
So our next story, speaking of the good things that came out of the Great Chicago Fire being alleys and our street grid, as we go into this next story that comes from Block Club Chicago about garbage juice, not so much.
Garbage juice.
Oh, and I've been wondering every time I leave my garage with my Jeep, there's that moment where the garage door opens and I'm going to the car and there's just this rancid, putrid smell from the alleys. And I obviously we know it's from the garbage, but this article goes a little bit more into depth as to why it's worse now than we may have remembered in the past. This comes to us from Mina Bloom at Block Club Chicago. Garbage juice from leaky city trucks. It's the trucks leaking. It's not just the garbage in the alley. It's the water in the trucks. All that gunky, gross, like biohazard in the trucks leaking. It's got a stench you wouldn't believe. Neighbors are frustrated and grossed out over the slimy, greenish, oily goo city garbage trucks are leaving behind in their alleys. Old trucks are to blame, city officials say. Up until a few months ago, a group of Albany Park neighbors spent a lot of time hanging out in their alley to beat the pandemic blues. The alley is where they'd play basketball, baseball, and bags, or just hang out. It was the best place to socialize, neighbor Michael Wachter said. We could all hang out and do socially distant get-togethers. But then the slimy, greenish, oily goo came. No, this isn't a bad horror film. Halloween's on the horizon, people. City garbage trucks have been leaving behind garbage juice in Chicago. I've never heard that phrase before until now, and it's not something I'm going to be able to easily forget. Garbage juice in Chicago alleys, which has residents frustrated and thoroughly grossed out. It smells awful. It smells worse than sewage. It's got a stench you wouldn't believe, Wachter said. Alderman Carlos Ramirez Rosa of the 35th, who represents the area where Wachter and his neighbors live, said his office has received several complaints over the last few months about leaky garbage trucks, all from residents of Albany Park. Earlier this week, Ramirez Rosa raised the issue with the commissioner of the city's Department of Streets and Sanitation during a city hearing. No one wants to walk down a stretch behind their home, whether they're walking their dog or taking their garbage out. Sometimes kids play in alleys. For a variety of reasons, people do not want to have this source of odor. It's gross, Ramirez Rosa said. Ramirez Rosa said the garbage juice could also pose a health risk. That's kind of what I was thinking when I found this article, if it's leaking from these trucks. In Vermont, garbage juice, or what's technically called leachate, Leachate, you can pronounce it however you want, ended up in a lake that is a drinking water supply. Oh,
God.
For hundreds of thousands of Canadians. There, the stuff contained PFAS chemicals, which had environmentalists concerned. This is an interesting, like, environmentally themed show from Matt Asphalt to the garbage juice, huh? And our Chicago, it all tied together. Everything we're reporting on tied together in some weird symmetry. Chicago Streets and Sanitation Commissioner said old trucks are to blame for the sludge in the city. The pandemic has caused global supply chain issues. Trucks that would have normally gotten new parts haven't. But the commissioner said his department will work on repairing old trucks to prevent garbage juice from invading residents' alleys. Ramirez Rosa said he hopes the city is focused on a long-term solution and doesn't just put a Band-Aid on the issue. Well, you know, Lightfoot's getting all those federal funds that she said were going to go to all these programs during her budget address several weeks back. So I wonder if there's some funding earmarked for our sanitation department that's sorely needed. It's just a bigger question of, does Streets and Sand have the parts we need? Do we need new trucks? Garbage trucks have leaked several times in Wechter's Alley from mid-July through mid-September. Wechter said at first neighbors didn't know what was causing the putrid stench, but then a Nest camera captured a truck leaving a slimy trail. Wechter and his neighbors stopped hanging out in the alley after the oily puddles appeared. They were grossed out by the horrible stench, but also worried about the potential health risks. Not to place blame on any of the operators. They're fantastic people. But at some point, if there's that much in the truck, maybe it gets rerouted and emptied, he said. Wechter and his neighbors are continuing to steer clear of their alley because they're worried about tracking the juice into their homes. You really don't want this stuff in your home. You don't want it in your garage. You don't want it on your shoes. It's really not good, he said, with no lack of irony. Wow, I'm reminded of Slimer from Ghostbusters, the slimy ghost. Maybe we'll see some of this stuff in the alleys and the puddles.
I've actually seen that in my alley too. Like some of these, some of that garbage juice. Yeah. I have to say, it is downright disgusting. It attracts flies. There's maggots. It is disease. Like you have to be careful where you step, especially when it comes. Now, look again. Shout out to the Chicago, garbage, handlers and
collectors. It's not their fault.
Collectors. Yeah, no, it's not their fault. I mean, if they're using outdated machinery, that's on the city to give them proper equipment that's updated. So it's up to the city right now to fix this problem. But
like a lot of other problems, like Matt Asphalt, right?
Yes, like that. So especially to our Chicago audience, don't go barefoot in the alley. Whatever you do, don't do that.
Don't rush down real quick. I'm not going to put on my shoes. I just got to take out the garbage real quick. No. Get a Birkenstock sandal. Put something on.
Yeah, put your shoes on. And don't go around near those puddles because it is a real serious problem. I do hope that our city officials are able to clear this up because, again, that does spread disease, that will cause infection, and it can also hurt your animals. And also, someone else pointed in the chat, I think Love to Gore said this, and it'll seep down into our drinking water. Yeah, that is a major problem, too, because, again, there's a lot of alleys that do have drainways, that will, that go right into our sewer system and thus into our drinking water supply. It's city living, but it doesn't have to be this bad. And Gene says the Chicago pick organic waste separately and compost it. Certain neighborhoods do. Okay. I will say that certain neighborhoods do. And when I was working at Costco at the time, I don't know if all Costcos do this in Chicago, but at the Costco I was working at, we did separate organic food and have an organic waste bin for fruits and vegetables that were going bad. So we did do that. I don't know if it's still going on. I can't speak for that. But when I was there, and again, I was working there I worked from 2014 up to 2019. We did have like an organic waste bin where, again, organic material was separated like that. And again, it's something I like to see more of. But I think only certain neighborhoods have that, and not all neighborhoods in Chicago have that.
So watch out for those alleys. Pegleg, do you have anything to add?
Oh, I really dislike leaky garbage truck juice.
You know something, Pegleg? I thought it was something he would appreciate.
It's not. It's not. I mean, you don't. I mean,
I thought it would be a delicacy to a guy like you.
Cow juice at all.
Like what juice?
It's not like cow juice at all.
You know something, Pegleg? I think, okay, look, I think we know your opinions on right now garbage juice, but I also want to add in something here too, because it's an article from the Washington Post, has to deal with your little thing was chocolate cows. A surprising number of American adults who think chocolate milk comes from brown cows. No, it cannot happen. There are 16.4 million misinformed milk-drinking people that think that all of a sudden brown cows make chocolate milk. No, they don't. All cows produce white milk. And there's no way
that's
to make
outrageous and an absolute falsehood and total fake news. Chocolate cows exist. Hashtag chocolate cows exist.
You know what I think happened? You saw a book that gave you facts. You got so offended, you kicked the lamp down in rage, and you caused a fire, and you ran away.
All this talk about
calm down there, Bessie.
all this talk about chocolate cows and I'm
Garbage
reminded of
juice.
that garbage.
See, you got a cat over by you. I got
I
a
do.
cow. He's a chocolate cow. His
Chocolate
name
cow.
is Bessie. He identifies as Bessie.
I'm reminded of this little chant that we all did when we were kids in grade school. Well, I think you may have engaged in it. The milk, lemonade, round the corner fudge is made. You guys remember that? I won't continue the verse, but it seems that
I
Pegleg
wrote
remembers
that verse 150 years ago.
So,
I knew it, peg leg.
gentlemen, any exciting plans for either of you this weekend? Because I've got an amazing recommendation, but I want to hear what's up with each of you.
Well, I have family members visiting me from out of state, long overdue. I haven't
Nice.
seen them in 2 years. So I'll be spending time with my relatives and also taking care of also some personal things as well. So I got to clean up the house, make it look nice, and do a few other things here too. But all in all, so yeah, my day is my weekend's just reuniting with family and doing a lot of house cleaning, house maintenance, and car cleaning too.
That actually sounds like a better weekend than what I'm going to recommend after we hear from Pegleg what his plans are.
Well, after I'm done processing all of the chocolate milk from Bessie over here, I was thinking I might tune into Svengoolie and make a pizza.
Oh, that's another good alternative. That's
a good alternative. There you go.
I met Svengoolie years ago. I did a segment for, I think it was DNA Chicago, and my good friend journalist Tony Boylan interviewed him, and I got a chance to do the video. I think it might be on my Nightstar Productions YouTube channel if you look for the Svengoolie video. But Rich Kaz, nice guy. All right, so here's my recommendation, guys.
Tombstone was my favorite character on the Svengoolie show.
Oh,
Tombstone.
yeah.
Tombstone and Nigel the Bat.
So for the past, several months during the pandemic, I sit here working at my desk, and I've got a Vudu account, which is digital movies. And I started rewatching the old James Bond movies in preparation for the new one, No Time to Die, which was just released this evening. And I got to tell you, the old James Bond movies do not hold up at all. You can love Sean Connery. You can love Roger Moore. I discovered Bond with Timothy Dalton, which was at a point where the producer started making a grittier spy Bond that wasn't silly. And I really liked that approach. Of course, Timothy Dalton only lasted 2 movies, and they brought in Pierce Brosnan, and it kind of went back to the whole Roger Moore thing. But I got to tell you, I have been a big fan of the Daniel Craig era of Bond. And without spoiling anything, and I would stay offline until you see the movie, this is the best Bond movie ever made. And I don't say that lightly. It was brave. It presented Bond more three-dimensionally than we've ever seen him. It was emotionally satisfying. It wasn't just an amazing action spectacle of a movie. It was so emotionally fulfilling and satisfying from a story perspective. And having followed Daniel Craig's trajectory in the role, I cannot recommend this movie enough. I personally think it's the best Bond movie ever made. I'm going to go see it again. I had a chance to see it at a screening with my buddy Art last night, who's normally in the chat, but he's seeing it with some other friends this evening. And no, MGM or Amazon are not paying us to hype this up. But if you want to see a really, really, and especially what a treat to go to a theater with a mask and enjoy something on the big screen again with this kind of spectacle. Yeah, I can't recommend it highly enough, and I'm really crossing my fingers as a big fan of the director James Mangold, who's doing the 5th Indiana Jones movie, that they managed to the
Oh,
fifth
boy.
Indiana Jones movie. I'm hoping that they're able to end Harrison Ford's run as Indiana Jones as satisfyingly as they did with Daniel Craig in this Bond movie. So if
I
you have a
hope
chance,
so,
you don't
'cause
have other plans, go see it.
I did see in the theaters. I saw that new Candyman movie
Was it
that was
good?
set in. You know what? Because here's the thing. I have a bias. If it's set in Chicago, I'm going to like it. Just like how I fell in love with the Shameless series. Because at first, for a long time, I was ignoring it, but Shameless grew on me. Because again, set in Chicago, I was like, okay, I'll watch it because I thought it would portray our city wrongly, But I like Shameless. It actually grew on me. So my old self's opinion has changed on even though because I never saw it. So there we go. As for Candyman, I liked it. I thought it was a very interesting twist on how they perceived that character and how connected to the original movie. But I don't want to spoil anything with that. And I saw Venom 2. But maybe I'll check out, if I have a chance, the new James Bond series. But I know from the previous older James Bond movies that they're silly.
They're
silly.
utterly silly. So you also have to
You
keep
have a
in
guy
mind.
with a hat with a razor blade.
I know.
But
They were product of the time. They were product of the time. Now, I think that the reign of Daniel Craig was really. I think that it came. I think that they finally took this direction with Daniel Craig as a result of Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins. Christopher Nolan kind of reinvented the superhero. Although Bond's not a superhero, he reinvented the genre. Franchise type of movie by presenting Bruce Wayne as a realistic, gritty character. If someone were going to do what Batman does in our reality, how would it happen? And I think that kind of gave permission to new emerging filmmakers or established producers to figure out how can we, because Bond was a dinosaur, and they brought Daniel Craig in and they made it like Jason Bourne movies and gave him much more dimension. And Gene says in the chat, I like the Jason Bourne movies. I've never seen a Bond movie yet. And the beautiful thing about this movie, Gene, is that you don't have to see the other Bond movies to enjoy this one. It doesn't hurt to see the last one. I think it was called Spectre. But if you don't have time to watch the other ones.
Or something like that.
There was I'm sorry. Spectre was Spectre was the organization in Skyfall. You're right.
Yeah.
Thank you for correcting me. If you can see Skyfall, give it before you go see this, but you don't have to see the other Bond movies because there's enough in what's happening on screen. Although it does do a lot of callbacks to the older Bond movies with the orchestral score. He's back in his Aston Martin, which is what Sean Connery used to drive around in. But it's a much more mature action adventure that is character driven. That's what it is. It's not silly. It's a very, very character and story driven movie. So I want to go see Venom also. I didn't know I didn't see the original Candyman because I know you don't have to have seen the original to enjoy the new one, but I'd like to see the original before.
Original, no. I would recommend seeing the original one because it is set. It also is set in Chicago, and it's very interesting. There's some very little interesting ties in with Chicago in the first original Candyman, and also with this new film that's coming out. It's connected. I really like what they did. I thought it was a very clever twist.
Speaking of movies, really quickly, before we draw the show to a close, earlier in the live chat, I was very, very gratified to see a couple people who, I guess, went and stumbled upon my Night Star Productions channel. They saw the trailer for my film Solstice, the Christmas movie I directed back in 1993 that was Lifetime Television's first original holiday movie. And we're exploring some ways. We don't have details yet, but we're exploring some ways, if it's possible, to screen Solstice this holiday season in a way that will hopefully also benefit local food pantries as well as Toys for Tots. It's something we've been talking about over at Hardlands Media. We want to do a community event where we can bring people out to bring toys for kids, canned goods for are hungry in the community, and enjoy a holiday movie that speaks to all the goodwill that the holidays are supposed to invoke, bringing us together. It's not a religious film. It's a seasonal film that just happens to take place in the winter solstice when Christmas takes place. So more details as that unfolds. I'm going to start exploring some options for how we might be able to do this. Not positive if it's going to be a go yet because of, bringing people into a theater. We got to find a venue. And if it's not, a theatrical venue indoors. I know that there are some outdoor drive-in venues, but it's all about how we can afford to do this and also encourage people to bring supplies for the most underprivileged in our community. So you can find Solstice also on Amazon. It's available there. It's on the website solsticemovie.com. If you do decide you want to order a DVD or a Blu-ray, hold off on watching it at Christmas. In fact, try to hold off to watch it on Christmas Eve, because the movie really benefits from being watched on Christmas Eve, which is when the movie takes place in Chicago. And if you're in Chicago on Christmas Eve, there's an electricity, there's a magic in the air. And I like to think that when you watch my film Solstice, it kind of taps into all that. And I'm getting a little emotional over it because
I'm going to do that. I'm personally going to do that. I'm going to make a vow to actually watch Solstice, your film. Yeah. And I actually got a wonderful beer and wine calendar that I got over there at Costco. I'll be sure to crack open the last beer and the last wine for Christmas Eve.
There you go.
And share that with
I hope we can figure out how to do this community event that HLM will be involved in. We've talked about it. I don't want to say more, but since somebody mentioned this in the live chat, I just wanted to address, thank you for finding the trailer on my YouTube channel, Nightstar Productions. And hopefully we're going to see if we can explore an opportunity, because it really is best enjoyed on the big screen. And the holidays are coming up, so we'll see what we can do. Chocolate Cow, E. Heller, anything you want to add?
I just wanted to ask everybody to have a wonderful weekend, and hashtag chocolate cows exist.
And with that, as we close the show every week, I want to remind you, if you haven't yet liked and subscribed to the channel, please do so. We're almost to 1,000 subscribers, which is very, very important, because it means then YouTube monetizes us. Otherwise, you got to hear me like pimping this mug at our Cafe Press store to try to raise money for our streaming costs.
We're 19 subscribers away, actually. 19 subscribers away. 19.
And I'm so excited that people discovered us tonight. Maybe coming onto the HLM show got people a little bit more curious about Chicago Corner. It doesn't hurt. I've got the venerable Kit Cabello joining me as my co-host tonight, along with, let's expose him, E. Heller, the talent that we're constantly discovering has more talent to offer on our channel. Ed, thanks for joining us tonight. This has been a lot of fun having you on.
Don't be ridiculous. I am absolutely talentless.
Peg leg, I'll curse you your name till the day I die.
Listen, everybody, it's the weekend. Be safe. Mask where you can and where you should. Practice vigilance. Watch over each other. And always remember, if it's happening on the streets, you'll hear about it here on Chicago Corner. With that said, have a safe weekend, everybody. This is Jerry and Kit and E. Heller signing off. Be safe, Chicago.
Bye-bye.